Welcome to Prem and Proper on SDH, the penultimate episode of the season to lay things out for you as we get to the final day of the regular season. And we'll go through everything that needs to happen, everything that needs to go, who's going where, who's got to do what. We'll go through juice boxes, all that kind of stuff, and let's not waste any time. We got some sound from a bunch of different managers talking about the season itself and the matchups coming up this weekend. So here's the deal. The two clubs, and once again, this is courtesy of our friends at The Score. Two clubs who join already relegated Southampton will be pushed to the financial precipice. Deloitte estimating that a season of Premier League football is worth up to £170 million, $210 million. We've discussed long and hard about what's going on with Everton. So, with Everton a part of it, they'll have to do it without Dominic Calvert-Lewin to offer Leicester and Leeds any kind of hope. If Everton fail to win, Leicester can survive by beating West Ham at home because of superior goal difference. Remember 7 years ago, Leicester won in one of the most unlikely Premier League seasons ever. Fifth back-to-back seasons, 1920 and 2021, won the FA Cup for the first time just 2 years ago under Brendan Rodgers. So here's what has to happen. Leeds, basically, they need a miracle. They need a win and some help to avoid the end of their 3 seasons in the Premier League. You've got to win over Spurs at Ellen Road, and then that can only happen if Everton lose and Leicester fail to win. If Everton gets even a draw, Leeds will need to beat Tottenham by 3 to surpass them on goal difference. Tottenham's result could have a bearing on who could be going into Europa Conference League. Aston Villa are in pole position, secure a return to Europe for the first time in 13 years if they beat Brighton. Spurs can sneak into 7th if they better Villa's result, but if neither side win, Brentford could qualify for Europe for the first time in their history if they were to beat Manchester City in West London. Arsenal, Manchester United, Newcastle, they are already assured of being in Champions League. Liverpool and Brighton will be in Europa League, and we'll get into the thoughts of Jurgen Klopp and Mo Salah coming up in short order in just a little bit. All right, so let's get into juice boxes for your final matchups of the season. And every match, remember, starts out 11:30 Eastern Time because you don't want things to sit there and go, okay, well, they did this and they did this, so only we have to do this. Everything starts at 11:30 Eastern Time. Arsenal, big favorite against Wolves, minus 256. Your draws a plus 429. Wolves a plus 654. News out of Wolves, Julian Lopetegui wants to try to figure out his future. And so he's trying to get some answers from the front office and figure out what the deal is with him possibly going into next season. No answers as of yet. Villa at a plus 106. Hosting Brighton, plus 282 on the draw. Brighton's a plus 241 on the road. At the G-Tech, Brentford is an underdog at a plus 311. Manchester City's only a minus 122 with your draw at a plus 305. Chelsea and Newcastle. Chelsea, a plus 188. Your draw is a plus 270. Newcastle is a plus 139. Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest. Crystal Palace, a minus 139 at Selhurst Park. Nottingham Forest, a plus 373. Your draw is a plus 309. Everton and Bournemouth. Everton, a big favorite at home at a minus 192. Draws a plus 346. Bournemouth is basically a plus 5.25. Leeds, a slight home underdog to Spurs. Leeds a plus 173. Spurs a plus 139. Your draws a plus 292. Leicester at home is a minus 103 with West Ham coming to visit. Plus 298 is your draw. West Ham is a plus 254. Manchester United, a minus 185, hosting Fulham. Draws a plus 363. Fulham is a plus 473. Southampton, and it appears that Russell Martin is going to take over Southampton next season after Ruben Sayas has been told that he is not going to be the man in charge. And so Russell Martin is leaving Swansea to take over Southampton. They're a plus 533 at home for their Premier League exit match. The draw is a plus 416. Liverpool is a minus 222. All right, so let's get into standings. Show you where things stand heading into the final match of the season. Manchester City, 8 points clear. 89 points to 81. Manchester City 1, Arsenal 2. Manchester United is at 72 points. Newcastle is at 70. So Newcastle wins, and even if Manchester United draws, Newcastle could be third on goal difference. So keep an eye on 3 and 4. Obviously, they're both going to Europe. We just don't know the order. 5 and 6, we talked about Liverpool and Brighton, 66 points and 62. Liverpool cannot improve their lot. Neither can Brighton. 5 and 6 are locked into Europa League. 7, Aston Villa. We mentioned Villa, Tottenham, and Brentford, 58, 57, 56. That's your 7, 8, 9. Fulham's at 52 points. They're locked into 10th place. And remember, when you're looking at points and places, even if you're not going to Europe, remember the financial numbers differ on a sliding scale depending on where you finish in the season. So Fulham locked into 10th place. Crystal Palace at 44. Chelsea at 43 points. And this will be the first time since 1995-96 that Chelsea will have finished bottom half of the table. Palace 44, Chelsea 43, Wolves 41, West Ham 40. That could swing everything from 11 through 14. Bournemouth's at 39 points. They've lost 3 in a row. They could finish 14th with a win. They could finish 13th with a win if things go their way. Nottingham Forest is at 37 points. They could improve their lot a little bit. Just depends on, once again, how things fall. So Forest, they're safe after winning 3 of 5 and being unbeaten in 4 of their last 5. They're at 9, 10, and 18 after 37 points. So Forest, safe. Everton, once again, remember, 33 points for Everton. They're right now above the relegation zone. Leicester and Leeds, both at 31 points. Goal difference right now, Leicester is a minus 18. Leeds is a minus 27. Everton's a minus 24, so we got to keep an eye on that. Southampton gone, having only won 6 of 37 matches, losing 25. They're at 24 points. So that's where we are heading into the 11:30 kicks on Sunday morning. Here's your sound from different teams and different managers when it comes to the final match of the season and the futures. Ryan Mason was asked, courtesy once again of our friends at Spurs their own selves, Ryan Mason was asked why folks may even want to come to Spurs, considering all of the upheaval that we've been discussing recently.
Arne Slot has decided to stay at Feyenoord amid interest from Spurs. Do you think the club is still an attractive proposition for some of the best managers in the world?
Absolutely, yes.
Why do you feel that's the case?
It's history. It's Tottenham Hotspur. It's a big club, not just for managers, coaches, for staff members, for players. Anyone here should feel the privilege and the honour to represent this badge. And if they don't, then they shouldn't be here. It's really as simple as that.
Sky found Harry Redknapp. It looked like he was either fishing or enjoying the pier or something, if you saw the video of it. And Harry Redknapp, old Harry, is a fan of what Daniel Levy has been doing with Spurs. Here's his comments.
They've got to make an appointment, but it's got to be the right one. It's no good just taking something. They've been round and round in circles, manager after manager. Get somebody in, give them the job, give them the backing, and just look to build a team. They've got the stadium's fantastic, the training ground's incredible, but they need to, obviously, recruitment in the team is the key now.
You're right. I mean, what a stadium, and it's been a good one for boxing so far as well as for the football.
What a stadium. It's probably the best football stadium in the world. And so credit to Daniel. He gets nothing but stick, Daniel Levy, but he's built the stadium. He bought the stadium, the training ground. They have spent money, but they've not spent it well. That's the unfortunate thing. You know, he's given me. They have invested, but the recruitment hasn't been good enough. They need to bring good. It's all about recruitment, signing good players. Anyone can go and sign average players. They're not going to make you go and get 2 or 3 good players in now in the summer. Spend the money, get the right people. And who knows, Tottenham could, next year they could be up there challenging.
We mentioned Chelsea finishing bottom half of the table for the first time in almost 30 seasons. Frank Lampard was asked what his advice would be for Mauricio Pochettino, once again courtesy of Chelsea their own selves. Here's what he said.
I don't know. It's a good headline. I don't know. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I can't jump into the future. I think it's a fantastic job because it's a Chelsea job. And when I took it the first time I came, I probably got the job because a lot of top managers didn't want the job. I know that for a fact. That was a big part of it. But I enjoyed the process and I enjoyed coming in. And I wish the new manager well. I don't know. It's his problem, I guess. Is that the headline you wanted?
Newcastle, once again, could finish 3, could finish 4. So what's the deal, Eddie Howe, on the transfer market? We know there's going to be investment, but what do you think, courtesy of Newcastle, their own selves?
Yeah, I mean, I hoped to do some things anyway, and I don't think it necessarily changes the numbers, because the numbers will be there, the 25-man squad, and we'll have to produce a squad for the Champions League. So it won't necessarily change the numbers in terms of the players that we're looking to recruit. As I've said a lot here, it's not a lot of numbers. That won't be big moves in, but hopefully it'll be selective, and hopefully it'll be the right 2 or 3 players that can make the difference.
Have you got a budget you're working towards?
Well, I hope so. We haven't necessarily had those discussions yet. I think we're planning to sit down the next couple of days and go through things. Now it's been finalised, and we'll see how that goes.
Mo Salah came on social media and apologized to the Liverpool fans about not being able to play European football and Champions League. Here's what Jurgen Klopp said, once again courtesy of our friends at Liverpool, their own selves, about that, and Klopp agreed.
So I'm just a bit worried about the headlines you create, but the things I say, to be honest. So do me a favor and try your best. So, of course, in a moment when it's in fact that you're not qualified, you cannot qualify for the Champions League anymore, that's a moment where, because even when I knew after the last game, so they need 1 point or whatever, the other 2 teams need 1 point, for me it was clear they will get that point. So I drew kind of a line underneath it because I'm a very optimistic person, but in these moments I couldn't see it. If it would have happened, we would have gone for it. That's how we prepared the week. So if they would have lost last night, yes, then it's clear that we don't have to change now the mood again. And I said at the beginning of the week, oh, that's it. And then in the middle of the week, I said, oh, all of a sudden there's a chance. So, but it's completely normal. I think in the world of social media, so many bad things happen constantly. I don't think that was one of it. So it was just a normal description of his situation, of his feeling. And in that moment, directly after the game, he's right. There's not immediately a moment to send any optimistic messages. But maybe an hour later, a day later, I saw him now in the canteen and he was smiling. So I don't know for which reason. We didn't ask him, but he was not in a bad mood. And that's it. We are in the season not since a week or whatever. We are for a long time here, and it was clear it's not from a specific point on. It was clear this will not be a historically good season. I think we said everything about it, that we are absolutely not happy with it, that we made mistakes, that we couldn't deliver often enough, that we were not consistent enough. But I'm not sure. I think the last 10 games, if I'm right, even after Dubai, since we were in training camp, so after the World Cup, was not everything great, but the amount of points we collected since then is pretty good. And if we could have done that over the whole season, we would be in a different place. So yes, of course there are reasons for optimistic views, because the things we showed in the last few weeks, that's definitely the case. We have another reason for optimistic view because of the atmosphere our people created in the last home game. After the Villa game, the atmosphere in the stadium, the way the club said farewell the day after that, how Bobby said farewell, all these kind of things are absolutely the basis for a fantastic future. So we don't have to make it bigger than it is. It's a football season. We didn't deliver what everybody wanted and everybody expected, rightly so. But we are still really united. And that's the good thing about it. If you can go through difficult moments like we did in last season, I think that's a really good basis for a better future. And so this, I find a lot of reasons for an optimistic view. But I understand as well that after the game, directly when it was decided, that you then the moment when you feel it really, and it was for me not different than it was for Mo. Even when I might have hoped a little bit less than him, I know that's completely fine. So the dressing room is not in a bad mood. We learned to deal with the situation. There was no. We didn't get divided in one moment between manager and team, which is super helpful. We didn't put fingers at each other and say this because of you or because of you. That's all good. And if you don't qualify for the Champions League, the best possible place you can end up is the 5th. So that's what we did. And if you would have asked me that 10 games ago, if that's possible, I would have said, no, I can't see that. For that, you have to play much better, all these kind of things. And that the boys did that is really good. That it is not perfect. We didn't end up on 5th place because the last 10 weeks, 10 games, we ended up there because of the lack of consistency before that. Yes, we are very self-critical with us, very. But there's no reason why we should now put the head down and leave it there until the new season starts. We have, I saw very good signs, and that's the things I will take for next season.
Then a bit of a roundtable thought. You're going to hear from Jamie Redknapp, Frank Lampard, Gary Neville, Erling Haaland, a bunch of folks, starting off with the discussion about Harry Kane and his future. Jamie Redknapp thinks Harry Kane should go.
It feels at the moment Tottenham's a shambles. They can't seem to get a manager. It feels that if you were Harry Kane with 1 year to go, this is the time to leave. It has to push now because you're Man United they might get somebody else. He missed that Man City a few years ago when he weren't allowed to leave. Right now it feels like he needs to push 1 year on his contract and go somewhere and really show what he's done, because at the moment Tottenham don't look like even close. It's like a social experiment of how far you can push your fans before they completely lose it right now, and they need to do something, and no one's going to want to lose Harry Kane. He's been incredible for that team, but I just feel that he deserves better.
Well, like Kane, Declan Rice is on Manchester United's list. He'll be allowed to leave West Ham for the right price this summer, but Arsenal appear his most likely destination at the moment. As for Mason Mount, he's approaching the final 12 months of his deal. Chelsea want him to sign a new one, but no agreement has been reached.
I don't know what the solution is going to be because it's a club and Mason issue. I don't know exactly where Mason is at personally. He's got a year left on his contract, and where the club. I know he's held in high regard at the club, and I think that. Well, I know as well that the club are trying to do what they can to make him stay. But I think also with Mason, I'd never want to stand here and talk in the modern day about what a player should do, because they will see it all from their own eyes. You know, about what's been going on, how they feel about the pitch, what the future is for them. And I think in the old days it would be, why are you leaving the club? You shouldn't. In the modern day, players move on. It's just a shame maybe we've got into this situation where it looks like it's happening maybe now.
I'm not surprised that Mason Mount is a target for many managers. I'm not saying I don't think it would be a priority here, but he does want midfield players. You know, you think about Dutch coaching style, they want to dominate possession, he wants that De Jong, he wants players who can handle the ball, he loves Eriksen, he loves Sabitzer, he loves Fernandes. You know, he's left Fred out of the team, he's left McTominay out of the team more often than not because he loves more technical players, and Mason Mount is a technical player who's available.
Erling Haaland has called on Manchester City to take it game by game as they pursue a domestic and European treble. Haaland has collected the Football Writers Association Award for Footballer of the Year in the men's game. The City striker won more than 80% of the votes after scoring 36 Premier League goals so far in his debut season.
No, everyone knows it's possible. Everyone's been knowing it's been possible for months. And now we're getting really close. It's 2 more finals. And that's really what we have to focus about. Now the only focus has to be on the FA Cup final. And then after the FA Cup final, we have to start focusing on the Champions League final. We cannot start thinking of the Champions League final now. I think it's not a good idea. So of course everyone knows it's 2 more finals, and we have to be the best team in both finals to have a chance.
Well, Haaland has also praised Pep Guardiola.
So that's your whip around of all your thoughts, all your coaches, all your pundits, a bunch of different folks getting ready for matchday 38 and figuring out the rest of the European picture, figuring out who's going down. 3 teams, 2 spots. We'll get our answers around 1:30 on Sunday afternoon. That is your penultimate Prem and Proper here at SDH. Thanks for hanging out with us. Keep an eye on your favorite teams, and we get to also find out who team number 20 is coming into the Premier League for the 23-24 season. Play it safe, everybody, from everybody here at SDH. We'll catch up with you next time.